Alright everybody, welcome back. Got this being, mentioned this on the live cast, Victory in the Pacific. Thought maybe I'd do this, wasn't positive or certain, but as it turns out I'm doing it. So this will be how we wrap up 2020, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I got things set up, I've got everything allocated to the order of appearance charts. I've read the rules a couple of times, but I've never played this before, so it's going to be a rough, rocky start. I have the let's see, the two cameras here, about as good as I'm going to get for what I'm doing. Let me see, the small box here, smaller camera, is not blocking anything map wise that you need to see. So there's that. Also, I have a new light over here because it's dark as dark can be in here. So I sprung for one of those 12-inch ring lights, and man, it's great. In fact, it's so cool. I think I'm gonna get another one. A little dark on this side because the light is hitting me on this side, so you're not seeing that side, but it works great. So another one, and I'm good. We'll be pausing multiple times to clarify things and figure out what I'm doing. In fact, pause is coming up here for the start. But a brief breakdown. This is a game that was kind of, I guess you could argue, a sequel to War at Sea. And classic game, same style, but Pacific Theater. And now we have 8 turns, I believe, is what this consists of. Yeah. With a 9th optional turn. Don't know that I'm going to play this all the way through to the 8th turn. I definitely won't be doing that on camera. I will probably struggle through the first turn. Don't even know if I'll get to the 2nd turn. But the way this thing breaks down is these areas, 13 I believe, sea areas. Now there's going to be combat between nations, but the real deal here, the thing that you need to focus on, is control of areas. That is the ultimate goal here. And you have islands you can capture, seaports, and then, as I've already said, the zones themselves, the sea zones. So we will be opening, when I come back, with the Pearl Harbor attack. And I have allocated, it says now, you can allocate as many Japanese ships from the Yokosuka Navy Yard as desired, as long as the speed is 5 or greater. Now what I have done is allocated every Japanese ship from the Yokosuka Navy Yard that I am legally allowed to do, and are all focused on attacking Pearl Harbor. So that should be real fun. So stay tuned. I'm going to pause this and be right back. Alright, so what do we have here? We have the Japanese ships in Pearl Harbor are raiding, so they have to be flipped to their white side. A ship that is its color side up and black silhouette is patrolling. On the first turn, we're going to do the Pearl Harbor attack. The only Allied ships that can freely move are marked with these blue cubes. That would be the Allied ships in Singapore, the Philippines, and Australia. So let's go ahead and move them. Move them where? They can move one sea zone. If you move 2 sea zones, you have to roll to see if you're flipped or not, I believe. Well, no, there's no point in moving in here. Let's try and move in the Marianas. Why don't we try that? Marianas. Patrolling. So there's that. And then we also have these guys as well can move into Marianas, unless I'm mistaken. And these guys, I'm probably doing this all wrong. We're going to move from Australia to South Pacific. All those are patrolling. Now after you move, do I need to flip them? How about this? British, Australian, and Dutch raiding ships. Okay, I was going to say they don't have to make a speed roll to enter a second sea area if they're raiding, but they're not. They're patrolling. Nobody's moved into a second sea area. Shipper, blah, blah, blah. Speed rolls are talk. Patrolling ship. Okay, patrolling ship that fail enter these. Okay. Alright, let's go back to the surprise attack. On the first turn, play is altered to reflect blah blah blah. Surprise attacks on Pearl Harbor and Indonesia. So, and this is historically accurate, and you forget about this because Pearl Harbor overshadowed, rightly so, this event. But there was also a attack in Indonesia by the Japanese. Turn that off. So, Japanese ships in the Pearl Harbor raid force are raiders and must move to the Hawaiian Islands, which I've already done. Flip them accordingly. Only the ships and units at Yokosuka Navy Yard can move freely. Only the ships and units at Yokosuka Navy Yard can move freely. The only allied ships that can move, I've already done so. The first sea area, the combat must take place at the Hawaiian Islands, which we'll get to momentarily. Followed by the second sea area where combat is resolved must be Indonesia. So what again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I do believe if I move them to this area and this area, another one here, I'm probably doing this incorrectly. What I'm doing is dividing my ships from the Yokosuka Navy Yard evenly between Indonesia and the Marianas Islands. They are not patrolling, they are raiding. Alright, now we go back to Pearl Harbor, and it says combat starts with a Japanese air raid, and that will consist of 2 rounds against the ships and the air unit in Pearl Harbor. The 2 Allied cruisers in the Hawaiian Islands are ignored. That would be these guys, they're ignored. After the air raid, the Japanese player can retreat or stay for more combat. If he retreats now, he cannot be pursued. After the air raid, so we got to do this air raid, right? Combat starts with the Japanese air raid, 2 rounds. Alright, air raids. Section 9. When combat is done in the sea area, aircraft carriers and the only allied ship, let's see, the first. Combat starts with a Japanese air raid in this case, but it's not normally the case. Aircraft carriers, when combat is done, aircraft carriers air raid after normal combat ends there. If there is no normal combat in the area, they air raid immediately. Only aircraft carriers that are at sea in the area can air raid. Well, what does that consist of? Where's my aircraft carriers? That's this guy. The ones with the circled attack number in the upper right hand corner. There's 1 so far. And on there, here's another one. Another one. Ooh, another one. Look at all these. Yeah. Wow, the Japanese had this many aircraft carriers. Impressive. Very impressive. Alright, so there's all our aircraft carriers that will be air raiding. Right there. I think this is only the second naval thing I've done on camera, and the first official game thing. The other was just a kind of a experiment. Let's see. Okay, so alright, here's our air raid. Only aircraft carriers that are at sea in the area can air raid. A carrier cannot air raid if it is pursued. Each attacking carrier is assigned to a port or base. An air raid consists of 2 rounds of day actions. The ships and units in the port or base cannot return fire. The carriers attack normally except disabled results have no effect. And you do not roll for damage when an amphibious unit is hit. I don't think we have any of those. A ship in port takes double damage before being sunk. These are all at port. When its damage exceeds its armor factor, it is resting on the bottom, quote unquote, of the harbor and cannot move, but it can be repaired. In any case, it is sunk when its damage is more than double its armor factor. The ships and units that are in the port or base at the moment can be attacked. Alright, so how do we do that? Let me pause again and figure out how to attack. Alright, so I think I'm getting the gist of this here. I need to figure out who's attacking what. Let's do it like this. I'm assigning targets for the Japanese for each attack. There will be a ship, an enemy ship for each Japanese attacking ship except for 2. Alright, let's get this show on the road. So what you're going to do is roll these circled numbers. You get an attack bonus. The attacking player rolls 1 die for each shot fired by each attacker. In a day action, each aircraft carrier and air unit fires a number of shots equal to its airstrike factor. So for instance, the Azuho, which is our first, will roll 2 dice. And he will want, I believe, 5s or 6s. He also gets a bonus. Circled factor gets the attack bonus when it attacks. Adds 1 to each die roll when the circled factor attacks. So here we go, our first attack. Pearl Harbor. We got nothing. Nothing there. Now we go to our second one, our Soryu. Soryu gets 3. Add 1 to the dice. We got a 5. What is a 5? A 5 is, if the target is a ship, a result of 5 disables it. A disabled marker is put on the target. So we disabled the New Orleans. How about that? Where's a disabled marker? There's a sunk, damage. What's disabled? Disabled marker is the X. We disabled the New Orleans. Now we go to the Akagi. He's going to roll 4 dice. Again with that bonus. Ooh, we got a 6. What does a 6 do? A 6 is a hit, and the attacker rolls 1 die to see how many damage points it inflicts. Let's do that now. We're putting damage. The Akagi is attacking the Pennsylvania. Let's see how much damage the Pennsylvania gets. Oh, frick. 1 damage. That's it from the Akagi. Then we go to the Kaga. Kaga is attacking the California with 4 dice. Bad rolls here so far, guys. Until now. Those are, wow. What just happened? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Did we roll for each of those hits? A result of 6 or more is a hit, and the attacker rolls 1 die to see how many damage. I think that's 4 hits. We got to roll for each of those. It's my understanding. Into the tray. So there's 3 hits. And his damage, his armor is, what is his armor? That ship's armor is armor factor of 5. Well, we need to get 10 or more to sink it, since he's in port. So there's 1. Then we roll 6. So that's 9. He's almost sunk here. Where's a 9? Here's a 10. Do we have a 9? Looking for a, there we go, a 9. Now his 9, 1 more hit and he's gone. There's 9 hits. 2 more dice to roll here. He's definitely gone. He is sunk. So the Japanese sunk their first ship, that being the California. I need a sunk marker here. There we go. We move on to the Hiryu attacking the Maryland with 3 dice. We get 2 rounds of this, right? Oh, we did get another hit. Roll for damage. On the Maryland, we got 1 point of damage on the Maryland. And what else? Next is the Ryujo. I believe Ryujo. Make sure the mic is picking me up. Ryujo has a mere 2 dice to attack with. He gets hit though. And what does he get for that hit? He gets 3 points of damage placed on the Oklahoma. Then the Zukaku is attacking the Tennessee with whopping 4 dice. Remember I had the bonus. We have two hits, so we will roll for each of those. And we get 7 points of damage on the Tennessee. And that brings us to the Shokaku, who rolls 4 dice. These are all airstrikes. During the day, it is a day turn, a default day turn. Now, when you attack, it could be day or night, or both, rarely, if you tie. But as this is the attack on Pearl Harbor, it's a default day turn, and wow, another good roll. We've got 3 hits. There's 3 5s, but you add 1 for the bonus. What do we get with those 3 5s? We get a 2, 4, 6, 8 points of damage on the West Virginia. And now, let me verify this, but we'd go through this again, right? 2 rounds? 2 rounds, yes. Let's still go through it again. Starting with the Zuhol attacking the San Francisco, which got away scot-free the last time. They will get away scot-free again. Surreal, 3d6, nothing. Well, you know what? Oh, okay, he's just disabled. Akagi, 4 dice. He got a hit. Let's roll for the Akagi. He got 2 points of damage. That 2 plus 1 previously administered is now 3 points of damage on the Pennsylvania. That brings us to the Kaga. Kaga will roll 4 dice. And Kaga got 1 hit. What does he get with that hit? He gets 1 point of damage. Bunch of junk. You know what? That Kaga was attacking California, which is already sunk. So I'll bump him down to the Arizona, in which he will inflict 1 point of damage. I must remember not to roll for him again. Do not roll for the Kaga again. He's already done his thing. Put it right here. Who's next? Next is the Hiryu with 3 dice. 3 dice from the Hiryu. He got a 5, which is a disable, is it not? If I remember correctly. A quote-unquote disabled, which is an X. So 1 point of damage and disabled. Ryujo will get 2 dice to attack with. He got disabled as well. Ryujo has disabled. Who did he disable? Oklahoma is now 3 points of damage and disabled. The Zukaki is attacking Tennessee, which already has 7 points of damage. I think they're going to sink the Tennessee. We're rolling 4 dice as well. Yeah, I think Tennessee's gone. That's 2 hits and a disabled, but he gets, oh yeah, that's 11 more hits. He's gone. Japanese have now sunk the Tennessee. And the, do this correctly, I need a sunk marker. Sunk. That's 2 ships sunk. Not as good as I would have liked to do, but finally the Shokaku has a chance to sink the West Virginia. Shokaku with 4 dice. Can he do it? Can they sink a third ship? Looks like they will because they got 3 hits and we're going to roll 3 dice for damage, and I don't even know why I'm bothering to roll because that's going to be a sink. Japanese sunk 3 ships in that raid. Again, not as good as I'd like to do, but administered a number of points of damage and disabled some ships as well. Now, what happens next? What happens next is combat starts with the Japanese air raid 2 rounds. After the air raid, the Japanese player can retreat or stay for more combat. If he retreats now, he cannot be pursued. I'm staying. What do you think of them apples? Then the allied player rolls 1 die for each location uncertain group, which are these guys here. If he rolls a 1, that group is put in the Central Pacific. Okay, so we're going to determine where these off-map units are going to show up. Roll 1 die here for the Group W, which consists of the Enterprise, Salt Lake City, Northampton, and Chester. Off the draft 5, so 5 is a turn 2 reinforcement. They don't come on map till turn 2. Not a good deal for the allies there. Let's see. Group X, consisting of the Astoria, Portland, Chicago, and Lexington. What do they get? They got a 4. Also a turn 2 reinforcement. These guys must have been far away. Something's going on with them. So they don't show up either. Group Y, I don't know why, because Group Y is also a turn 2. Look at this. The Japanese are getting lucky here. And finally, Group Z, consisting of the Hornet, Yorktown, Vincennes, and Quincy. Surely they'll show up, right? Yep, they will. With a 2, they are placed in the Hawaiian Islands. Oh, jeez. These ships cannot move and are patrollers, so they're not raiding. What's next? All surviving Allied ships and air units in Pearl Harbor moved to the Hawaiian Islands as patrollers. Let's see, all surviving Allied ships and air units in Pearl Harbor moved to the Hawaiian Islands as patrollers. Okay. Ships with damage exceeding their armor factor may not go to sea. So let's do that. San Francisco moves to the Hawaiian Islands. What if they're disabled, though? Let me pause this and check something here. So if you're disabled, you're not going to sea. You're just hanging at Pearl Harbor. Pennsylvania does not have more, so he can go hang at sea. California is sunk, so they're not doing anything. This ship's disabled, so he will not go anywhere. For this turn anyway, that is the Maryland, and the New Orleans are disabled. Also disabled is the Oklahoma. I guess the Japanese did a little better than I'm giving them credit for. Arizona will go to sea. So we have San Francisco undamaged, Pennsylvania with 3 points of damage and an armor factor of 4. Arizona with an armor factor of 4 and 1 point of damage. Nevada scot-free. 7th Air Force will stay in Pearl Harbor, I presume. We also have the Yorktown, Hornet, Vincennes, and Quincy that showed up. And again, 3 sunken ships, the California, the Tennessee, and West Virginia at the bottom of the ocean there. What else? Patrollers. Ships with damage exceeding their armor factors may not go to sea. These forces cannot move. The Allies can retreat from the sea area. If they retreat now, they cannot be pursued. If the Japanese stay in the Lion Islands, they can attack for 2 more rounds. Really? Before they must retreat due to fuel shortages. If an Allied fleet is present during an extra round, it is a normal round of combat. If no Allied fleet is present, it is an air raid round. Well, we've got Allied fleets there, right? So it's a normal round of combat, not an air raid round. Nobody's retreating. So after 2 more rounds, the Japanese must stop pursuing and retreat. But the Allies can pursue if they have not themselves retreated. So now we do 2 more normal rounds of combat. Let me get geared up for that. Alright, so the Japanese want another a day action so they can do air raids, but it doesn't benefit the Allies. They don't want that, so we have to do a roll-off to determine if it's a day action or a night action. Again, if it's a day action, the Japanese get their wish and they can do more air raids. If it's a night action, it's going to be a surface battle. The player who wants a day action adds 1 to his roll. Okay, Japanese roll a 1, which gets a 2. Since the Americans are in control, they're going to roll a 2 plus 1 is a 3, so they get their night turn. In action, first the Japanese player names his targets and resolves his attacks, and then the Allied player names his targets and resolves his attacks. Results both sides' attacks go into effect only after the Allies attack. Ships with gunnery factors attack. So no, we're just using gunnery factors here, not any air raid factors. So let's determine. But if they're just patrolling and not raiding, what does that mean? Not sure what that means. It's the same. Alright, let's divvy up these attacks here. With their gunnery, armor factor, let's see. Gunnery factor, it's the first number. Oh, jeez. This is going to be bad. For the, this will be bad for the Japanese, I say, because they don't have much by way of gunnery. Do it down here, so I don't lose track of what the hell's going on. This is 2 more rounds, is it not? So the first round is a night action, then we get to roll again to see if we get can get a day action on the second round. And then the Japs have to skedaddle, because they will run out of fuel if they don't. And the Japanese will be attacking first. Look at all these ships that are attacking Pearl Harbor. I don't know how many attacked historically, but certainly it wasn't this many. It's like 90% of the Japanese fleet is in Pearl Harbor. Alright, divvy it up. Quincy. Then this is the fleet that just came on. Hornet and Yorktown. Then we have the Nevada, Arizona. These guys can't move, but they will be involved in the combat. Sunk. Those guys aren't doing anything. And then we have this. Wow. Overwhelming odds. More than 2 to 1 odds with the Japanese fleet versus the Allied fleet. Okay, Japanese go first. Let's run down the line here. Gotta get these attacks divided up right. I think the Japanese have enough ships to attack each Allied ship 3 times in this round. That's nuts. Let's do it this way. Alright, ready? We're ready. First ship. Do I need this anymore? First ship. 4 dice. No bonus. Attacking the Quincy. Wow, he got nothing. Second ship, 1 die. He got a hit. How many? Isn't that how you do this? Let me verify. I know that was how we did it for the air raid, but I want to make sure surface combat's the same way. Day action, gunnery factors do not attack. In a night action, a number of shots equal to its gunnery factor. Okay. Alright, yeah, same thing. Well, he got a hit, so how many? He got 4 points of damage there. On, let me find a 4. Here's a 4 on the Quincy. And then the Zukaku will attack with 1. Get nothing, so the Quincy's... Really? I think they just sunk another ship. This is nuts. Armor factor is the middle. His armor factor is 1, and the 4 hits, he's like gone. He is sunken. He's out of there. And they're not at port, so there's no double. You have to, if they're in port, you have to get double the armor factor to sink it. That's not happening now. They're at sea, so if you equal or exceed that armor factor, they're done, right? Alright, Mikuma, 1 die with a bonus. He gets nothing. Ryujo cannot attack. The Hiru, he got 1. What did he get? 5 points of damage, so the Vincent is sunk. It's another ship sunk. This is unprecedented. How many ships do we have sunk now by the Allies? The Allies have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ships now sunk. Alright. Kumano. 1 die. He got a hit, flat out. Roll 1 die for damage. 4 hits on the Hornet. The Hornet's gone. Just sunk the Hornet. Am I doing this wrong? I don't think I am. This is nuts. Now these ships that sunk, they do get to fight back, but I mean, Jesus. I think I'm doing something wrong. There's another hit. How many hits? 4, he's sunk. Yorktown just sunk. I'm telling you. I think the Americans should have tried to flee. That's what I think. Then we go... And you have to remember, I have almost the entire Japanese fleet in Hawaii. So this is probably what would happen. Furutaka, nothing. Taiko, he got a hit. How many did he get? 4 hits. That's 4 on Nevada with an armor of 4. Let's see. So you have to exceed. It's not equal to or greater. You have to actually exceed. Kitakami with a bonus. He gets a hit. Japanese are just rolling like mad. And he sunk the Nevada. I think all these ships are going to sink. Bring these here. The Haye is a bastard of a ship because he can roll 4 dice. And he got 2 hits. 5 points of damage, so he's sunk. Arizona is now sunk. Again, these guys get to fire back, but this is bad news. Bad for the Allies. Then we go to the, let's move all these over. Nachi attacking the Indianapolis. One die, he got nothing. The Zuho cannot attack. The Akagi, one die, he got nothing. The Atago, one die with a bonus, he got a 5, so that is a disabled. The Indianapolis is disabled. The Tone, 1 with a bonus, got nothing. This Soryu does not have a bonus. He's disabled again. He's already disabled. What happens if you're disabled twice? Must return to a friendly port. He splits and goes to port. Is that what happens if you're disabled? That's what I'm reading it as. Indianapolis has returned to port. Again, guys, don't watch this video if you're trying to learn how to play this game, because I'm screwing up, I'm sure. To put it nicely. 6 with a bonus. Who are we attacking? We're attacking the Minneapolis. How many points of damage do we get? Oh, jeez. He's sunk. Minneapolis is sunk. And what else? I've lost track of what the hell's going on. The Miyoko with a bonus. Guess what? He gets a hit. How many points of damage? The ship already has 3 points of damage. He's sunk. Ashigara, 1 die with a bonus. He gets a disabled. So he goes. The San Francisco goes back to port. Now these ships that were sunk can fire back. Again, it might seem like a moot point, but that's how it plays. Look at that. The Japanese just sunk 2, 4, 6, 8 more ships. 2 of them carriers. With this attack here. All right. So the Quincy is going to attack the Krishma, and he will do nothing except remain sunk. Let me put these here under the sunk pile. We have a vast majority of the Allied ships crippled. The Vincennes will get a... Oh, that's cool. He gets a... why can't I remember this? Disabled result on the Krishma, who has to go back to port. Where will he go? He'll go to the Marshall Islands, I guess, right? And to the Malala port. Let me make sure I did that right. Island base, major port. Port or yeah, he can do that. What's next? Hornet cannot do much surface-wise. He's just going to be sunk. He's a force to be reckoned with for air raids, but surface battles, he's nothing. That leaves the Nevada, which is a pretty tough ship, and wow, Nevada got 3 hits. On the Shokaku, which is enough to sink that thing. The Japanese lost their first ship. Sunk. Let's go back to the sunk pile. Minneapolis will roll 1 die, no bonus. He got a hit. How many points of damage does he get? 2 points of damage. Sinks the Mikuma. Another Japanese ship sunk. far cry from what the Japanese have done to the Allies, though. Andy Vincent gets 1 die to attack. He got a 1, that's nothing. He goes back to his sunk pile. The Yorktown cannot attack because, again, it's a carrier with no surface. Not enough surface stuff to affect anything. But the Pennsylvania will get 4 dice. And they will get 2 hits and a disabled on the Zukaku. Let's see what the 2 hits are. Maybe we sunk him 6. Yeah, he's gone. They sunk the Zukaku. And finally, the Arizona with whopping... Did I already do the Arizona? I don't think so. He gets disabled and a hit, but maybe, just maybe, he can sink the ship and the disabled won't matter. Let's see how many points of damage he got. Oh yeah, he got that. Sunk another Jap ship. So, again, Japanese really decimated the Allies here. But the Allies did manage to get off 4 sunken Japanese ships. Allies also have a number of damaged ships, damaged as in disabled, while the Japanese only have 1 disabled. There's another round we can do here before the Japanese are forced to go home. So let's go ahead and do that round and see what happens. Who are we attacking? Everybody's disabled and going to port. Can we attack the ships in port? Let me pause this and determine some rules. Be right back. So here's what I've decided. Pretty much everything in the Hawaiian Islands has been sunk or incapacitated, damaged, disabled. So what the Japanese are going to do is head to the Marshall Islands. I guess you could call this a retreat, but there will be no pursuit because the Allies have nothing to pursue them with. That's where we'll go, to the Marshall Islands. And then we go to Indonesia, because we have to. Now we have Japanese ships in the Marianas Islands, but per the rules we have to resolve this Indonesia. Let me fix all these. I haven't done that yet. Those are sunk. We have to resolve the battle in Indonesia first. As soon as I get these guys in the Marshall Islands. It's a lot of ships. The bulk of the Japanese fleet. You know what? I can just leave them in the Hawaiian Islands, can I not? Let's just leave them there. I'm leaving the bulk of the Japanese fleet in the Hawaiian Islands in the hopes that I can gain control of it. We'll determine how to do that in the future. Let's for now let's head to Indonesia. That is going to be a rules heavy thing. I need to determine on how to continue operations in the Hawaiian Islands. Indonesia, we're going to have to do the is it day or is it night thing. We have 4 Japanese ships, no carriers, so there'll be no air raids, and no carriers for the Allies. So it'll be a default night turn, so to speak. They also have 5th Air Force. Now what can the 5th Air Force do? Hold on one second. Alright, for land-based air units, which is what the Japanese and the Allies have going here, you have to have control of the area you're in to use them. The Allies do, in fact. fit that qualification, but as it is a night turn, it's not going to happen anyway, because these land-based air units function only in a day turn. So now we have 2-to-1 odds. 4 Japanese ships versus two Allied ships. Japanese always go first. And I also forgot what this damage stuff. During the night turn, which is a gunnery battle, if a ship has any damage points at all, its gunnery factor loses the attack bonus. If its damage points equal its armor factor, its gunnery factor is reduced to 1. I don't think I did any of that stuff, but that's how it goes. Alright, divvy up these attacks here. Starting with the Fuso, attacking the Prince of Wales. Fuso has 4 dice, no bonus. He gets 2 hits and 1 disabled marker. Where's a disabled marker? 2 hits and 1 disabled marker. Alright, let's see what he does with the 2 hits. He gets a 4, a 5, a 6. He sinks him. He sinks him. Another Allied ship sunk. That brings us to Yamashiro, 4 dice. 2 disabled, so he's just disabled. What does the Motsu do? Oh wow, 5 dice. Or is it? Yeah, the Mutsu, 5 dice. He got 1 hit out of those 5. It's better than nothing. And 2 points of damage on the Repulse, which is also disabled. And finally, the Hyuga has 4 dice, gets 1 hit, and how many points of damage? Enough to not sink him. Only 1 more point makes 3 points of damage, so the Repulse got lucky. Fire back with the Prince of Wales, because this has happened simultaneously. He fires, even though he's sunk, fires back with 4 dice, gets 2 hits. Should be enough to sink Yamashiro. 6, 7, 8 it is, so he's sunk. These 2 ships are sunk. And the Repulse can fight back with 3 dice, fighting back. He gets 1 hit and 3 points of damage on the... Where's a 3? 3 points of damage on the... Where's a 3? There we go. On the Mutsu. So he goes... This was in Indonesia, right? So he goes back to port because he's screwed up. I think they're on this side. No, they moved here. Did they not? Anyway, that's what's going on. They stay here. Again, I'm sure I'm screwing everything up here. Another sunken Japanese ship, though. Look at this stack of sunken ships compared to the... It's like an inch high compared to the Japanese. That resolves the Indonesia stuff. Or does it? It doesn't, because we have to... What is this? Yeah, it does. That's done. Alright, so now we have next the Marianas Islands. Marianas Islands have 3 Japanese ships. 1 is a carrier. Won't do us any good unless it's a day action, day turn. That is taking place here. So Japanese obviously want a day action. The Allies do not because it'll benefit them, but it'll hinder the Japanese. So we got to do the roll off again, and the player who wants a day action adds 1 to his roll. Japanese want 1, that's a 5. The Allies do not, however. Ooh, they do not control it, so it's just, if they get a 6, nope, it's a day action. Alright, skip to day actions. Only aircraft carriers and air units can attack. Maybe I didn't want a day action. I'm doing that over because I just realized that the Japs only have one carrier and the other 2 ships won't be able to attack. So the Allies had already wanted a night action. Japanese agree to that, and you can, if both sides agree, you just have that action. So it's in fact a night action again, which means surface combat gunnery stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 dice, and that is 2 hits and a disabled on the Houston. Houston's going to be gone though. Yeah, Houston is sunk. The Hoshu can't do anything. That brings us to the Ise. 4 dice from the Ise. And they got nothing. Wow, a rare miss for the Japanese who've been hitting everything in sight. Go back to the Houston, 1 die. He gets a hit though. Ooh, can he sink? Can he get another 6 and sink a Japanese ship? He cannot. He can inflict 4 points of damage though on the Nagato before he goes bye-bye. Another ship for the Allied sunk pile. The Exeter, 1 die. He gets nothing. And the Reuter gets a disabled on the Ise. Ise has to go back to port. That brings us to the Nagato again, who, now here's the thing, effective damage. If a ship has any damage points at all, its gunnery factor loses the attack bonus. Okay, well the Nagato has no attack bonus. If its damage points equal its armor factor, which it does not, so we're good. Otherwise it would be reduced to 1. So that's still 1, 2, he got lucky. 5 dice coming at the Exeter, and he got 2 hits and a disabled. Disabled's going to be a moot point because these 2 hits will sink the Exeter, which is now sunk. And again, the Hosho cannot attack. That goes to Exeter. He gets off 1 attack before it sinks. He got nothing. Add him to the sink pile, which is about a mile high at this point for the Allies. And that brings us back to the De Ruyter. Gets a hit on the Japanese carrier Hosho. What's he do to it? 5 points of damage, sinks it. Japanese lose a carrier. Now it's a ship duel between Nagato, who only has 1 point of armor left, and the De Ruyter with 1 point of armor. But again, 5 dice coming from the Nagato. And all he gets for his trouble is a disabled marker, and before he goes back to port, he gets 1 shut off, which is nothing. So, the De Ruyter cripples his way back to the Philippines here, right? Yes. And the Nagato crawls back to Saipan. Doesn't have to, but that's what I've decided to do with him. And that is the end of round 1. Now turn 2, we'll see us, or rather we'll see me, resolving issues in the Hawaiian Islands. Again, we have the bulk of the Japanese fleet here with the only ships currently in the Hawaiian Islands are at port in Pearl Harbor, and they're disabled and or have taken damage. We do have the 7th Air Force, which I need to determine what they can do. So we need to figure out, moving forward, what will happen in the Hawaiian Islands. We have unresolved conflict in Indonesia with For the Allies, the 5th Air Force in the Philippines disabled ship, better known as the Repulse, with damage, and disabled the Reuter ship. But there's 3 Japanese ships here, so I have to figure out how to resolve that. We have 2 Allied ships in the Bay of Bengal who cannot move in the first turn, but will be able to in the second turn. We have an Allied ship in the Coral Sea. Not allowed to move in the first turn, again can on the second turn, and also the Pensacola in the U.S. Mandate cannot move in the first turn, but will be able to do so in the second turn. Also, this is kind of like, reminds me of Battle of the Bulls with the reinforcement scenario, because the Japanese pretty much threw everything they had at the beginning of this whole operation in the Pacific, and very little by way of reinforcing naval units. However, the Allies have a boatload, pun intended, of naval units that will flood the map turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 6, turn 7, a mass of just ships. So even though the Japanese seem to be, the game seems to be one-sided with the results favoring the Japanese, the way it panned out, especially in Pearl Harbor with that initial attack, things are going to balance out, and in fact, I expect the Allies to have the advantage as the game goes on, again, as Allied ships flood the map, and it's really a race against time for the Japanese, from what I can see, because hanging back and playing it safe isn't going to win the game. It isn't going to get enough control over sea zones, and I need to go back and verify if I did that correctly. Instead of moving every ship, so here's the rub, I guess, huh? Instead of moving every ship I just about had into attacking Pearl Harbor, I should have moved I just noticed something I forgot to do, into Allied controlled sea zones and taking control of them. I could have done that with Central Pacific, the Aleutian, and the North Pacific. So I may go back and retro apply that, looking in hindsight. So that's it. That's where we're at. That will be turn 2 coming up. Don't know if I'll share that with you guys or not. Again, if you're watching this game in the hopes of learning how to play it, or learning how to play it correctly, or even learning how to play it, that is not what was not my intention with this video. It was more to get the thing on the table and play it, more of a selfish thing, I guess. See how I could do and what it all involved. Now, when I looked at the rules, it didn't seem too taxing, but the thing you have to bear in mind is there's a number of factors that maybe a crib sheet would be in order, so you remember them. Certain things that you're doing. Maybe hit up Board Game Geek and find something that perhaps somebody has printed up. I think there's a flow chart on there that someone compiled to help you remember to do everything correctly, in what order, and things not to forget. But again, there's things that little things that will escape you if you don't have notation to help you remember. So bear that in mind. All right, guys, it's been about an hour. For those of you that are still with me, thanks for hanging out. This has been Victory in the Pacific. It was turn 1. The Japanese decimated, absolutely decimated the Allies with their attack on Pearl Harbor, but the tide will be changing quickly here with the appearance of Allied reinforcements as the game goes on. All right, that's all I got. Talk to you next time.